I started developing a tremor. And then the next couple nights, I started getting involuntary head jerks and leg jerks.
Today I sit down with former Pussycat Dolls member Jessica Sutta, a singer and dancer with 2 multi-platinum albums and several top 10 singles in her repertoire.
When the neuropathy came, and it spread through my whole body, I remember staring at the ceiling and thinking, oh my God, this is it, I'm dying.
Today she shares for the first time what happened to her after getting a second Moderna COVID vaccine shot and why she chose to speak out.
One death is enough. One child on the football field is enough. You know, I just read that FDA pulled an eye drop because it killed one person. Why is it so different with this?
This is American Thought Leaders, and I'm Yanya Kellick. Jessica Sutta, such a pleasure to have you on American Thought Leaders.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's kind of amazing to have you here on the American Thought Leaders set. You know, you're a member of the Pussycat Dolls, one of the most successful, I guess, girl bands of all time, multi-platinum winner. You've had a solo career. Maybe just, let's start by you just sort of summarizing for me what brings you here.
Well, I was severely injured by the Moderna vaccine. And I found that your show is the safest place to be, to speak my truth, because I know there's a lot of people suffering out there. And I know it's brave for me to do this, which I think is crazy, but now I have the strength to do it, and that's why I'm here.
Well,
so thank you for having me.
I'm very happy to have you here, and I think we should kind of start from the beginning, because there might be a few people out there that aren't familiar with your dance and singing days. So maybe just start us off. You know, how did you even kind of get into the whole world of music? And
wow. Well, I'm a dancer since I was 3. I love dance. I love performing so much. I went to a performing arts school called New World School of the Arts, where I focused on dance, and then later on, after a knee injury, I switched to theater and got into acting. And in Miami, once I graduated from high school, I danced for the Miami Heat, did music videos, I danced with Will Smith, and then I was lucky enough to be on a soap opera called Ocean Avenue. It was really fun. I enjoyed it so much. I loved being on set. But I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm a terrible actress. So I moved to Los Angeles to act, and it wasn't really going so well for me. And my first love, obviously dance, I was asked to do a public service announcement for Smokey the Bear. It was my first job in Los Angeles, and it happened to be Antin, who's the creator of the Pussycat Dolls, was the choreographer for this public service announcement for Smokey the Bear. And we were putting out forest fires with our top hats and tuxedo leotards in the middle of the forest. It got cut out. Of course, you know. Yeah. It got cut out of the actual PSA, which was very sad, but that's when I established a relationship with Antin, and on set, she said, you know, I really love you. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to cut your bangs, and I want you to be in the Pussycat Dolls. I was like, what is that? Okay, sounds good. And that's kind of how I started in the Pussycat Dolls. It was a cast of about 50 girls. The lead was Carmit Electra. We had a lot of celebrity guests that came on, which gave a lot of notoriety in Hollywood. It was a very cool underground show. Where Christina Applegate was an MC, Christina Aguilera performed, Gwen Stefani. And when Gwen Stefani came in, she actually got the attention of her label, which was Interscope Records, and they were very interested to do something with the group, but they had no idea what to do with it because it was just so wild. And it went from 20 girls to 6 girls, and I stayed at the 6, and I was part of the pop group, the Pussycat Dolls. And it absolutely changed my life forever. It was incredible. And then after the Pussycat Dolls, I I did some solo work. I did some singing and dance music. I have 5 #1 hits on the dance club Billboard chart. I love performing, and it's been a really amazing, fun career. Recently, actually, in 2019, we decided to have a reunion, which was really fun, but unfortunately COVID stopped that, so it's no longer happening.
Well, and COVID, really changed all sorts of things, and I suppose it indeed brought you here ultimately.
Yeah.
So what happened to you?
I'm a law-abiding citizen. I want to do what's right for the community. I wanted to stop this pandemic. I'm not anti-vax in any way. So I went in, I went to protect my community. And unfortunately, my reaction wasn't what I thought it would be. And it changed my life. And it's been almost 2 years. And it's something that I'm not really allowed to speak publicly about because it's so taboo. And maybe it's rare, but it's real. And I live it every single day. But I think my point of being here, Jan, since I'm also a fan of your show, I would like to speak to the vax injured and let them know that they're not alone. This is real. Your voice matters. You're loved. It's time to take off your tinfoil hat that has been so graciously given to you by other people, because you're not crazy. It's happening. And I think it's time to get the researchers and the doctors involved to heal us, because I know we will heal. And I think it's important to speak out now, truly.
Well, thank you for doing that. And well, so it can be really difficult, especially because a number of these vaccine injuries that I'm familiar with, indeed, Brianne Dressen, who I've had on the show, is a kind of a similar situation to you, where it's not obvious on the surface when you look at someone that anything's different. And it might be very easy for someone to say, well, it's all in your head, or there's some other reason, or anyway, there's a whole lot of, it's not obvious.
No, in fact, so I can tell you my journey. So 3 days after the Moderna vaccine, I woke up in the most excruciating muscle spasm. And as an athlete and a professional dancer, it just felt so different. It felt like I'd broken my rib. I'd broken my rib before on tour. So I know pain very well. I've danced about 3 shows after I broke my rib, so I'm familiar with pain. So I went and did all the therapies that I would normally do, the chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, rest, and nothing would get this muscle spasm out. So it was September 15th, 2021, I admitted myself to the hospital. And they ran all these tests, all this blood work. I did a CAT scan, and come to find out, I'm in perfect health. Like, there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. So they sent me home with antibiotics, saying that, there was a kidney infection or whatever. They had to wait to get the test, and they said, okay. So I just kind of went on and tried the same therapies, and nothing was working. And I was getting to a point where it was really hard to breathe. It just felt like burning, and just like knives in my side. And it was incredibly debilitating. I couldn't even lift my son. I just had my son. And that was really hard, because just even holding him was like a struggle. So our trainer mentioned to us that a friend of his in Boston had an adverse reaction to the COVID vaccine, and that I need to take a look at something. So my husband that night showed me a video of it's like 1,000 women having these horrific side effects from this vaccine. And I just remember telling my husband, like, can you turn it off? I don't want to see this. come on, you know, no way. This is just a muscle spasm. It's going to go away. I mean, you know. And then eventually it got so bad. I remember, I think it was like December 7th, around that time. It had spread through my whole body where I was just so heavy, and my eyelids and my legs and my feet, everything hurt, and I just couldn't move. And I lost about, so I was about 50, 60 pounds overweight in August, still from post-pregnancy. I had lost that weight by December. I was already back to, like, you know, underweight, which was about like 115. So it was crazy because, you know, I live in Hollywood and I was getting compliments. I was like, wow, you look great, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm not doing anything different. I don't know what's going on with my body, but it feels like my body's eating itself. So, yeah, it's even hard to talk about. You know, just speaking here right now, it's like, wow, I actually have a voice to speak out on this, as scary as it is, you know? So I eventually found a massage therapist that was working on my back, and she finally got the muscle spasm out. And once I got the muscle spasm out, I was laying in bed. All of a sudden, I started developing a tremor. And then the next couple nights, I started getting involuntary head jerks and leg jerks. And it scared me because it felt like, oh my God, this is not my body anymore. What is going on? And so when I went to a rheumatologist, she said, you know, you have fibromyalgia. I did a whole nother blood test, a whole line of blood tests, everything you can imagine, and nothing indicated any type of autoimmune disease. Nothing was abnormal. So she said, you have to work out, it's fibromyalgia, you'll work through this. So when I would do that, it actually made things worse. And I was in a yoga pose, and as I was twisting my spine, I came back, and that's when the neuropathy started. And
just very briefly, you know, for those that might not know, what does that mean exactly?
So small fiber neuropathy feels like you're on fire. It feels like it's burning all throughout your rib cage. In my case, it was in my rib cage and all the way down my spine, and it would come in kind of like contractions. It would come in waves, and it was so debilitating, and I just didn't know what to do. And at the time, I had switched insurances, and I begged my general practitioner, can I please see a neurologist? I really feel like something's very wrong. And she said, okay, she finally let me see him, and the first thing he said was, when did you get the vaccine? I said, you know, he goes, oh, I think you had an adverse reaction, and that was the first time that I acknowledged the fact that that was actually happening to me.
Hey everyone, I've got a special announcement. We're launching a Sunday Watch Party series. Many of you have told us that you want to share some of our best episodes with your friends and family so they can be more informed about what's going on. So every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, we'll be re-premiering some of our best American Thought Leaders episodes for subscribers and non-subscribers alike. It's free to everybody. And if you have a suggestion for the next American Thought Leaders episode that you'd like to see for our Sunday Watch Party, tag us on Twitter at hashtag ATL Sunday Watch Party. Again, that's hashtag ATL Sunday Watch Party, or email us at atl@epochtimes.com. I look forward to seeing you all on the live chat this Sunday.
When you saw that video earlier of the many, many women that were having the tremors and the adverse reactions, I'm sorry to put you through that.
That's okay.
But for some reason, you just weren't ready to accept that this could be a possibility, even though you had mentioned earlier that that you had taken the vaccine and they were kind of ignoring that. So you, in the back of your mind, you knew, just trying to sort of chart your thinking through this, because
I didn't want it to be real, you know, especially as I was just trying to do the right thing. I couldn't imagine that this could ever happen. This wasn't something that was warned. I didn't get a heads up that this could be a reaction, kind of an autoimmune response. And to this day, I still get gaslit to think that it's not real.
So this is having spoken to many people who have been injured now, this is a very common situation, whether it's doctors, there was even this, video that went around of a woman who had very severe tremors, and she wanted to show people this is what can happen, right? But never mind people not believing it, but people sort of, making fun of it. This is a reality in our society today. What is your reaction to that?
Oh, it's so painful. But you know what? I've been gaslit a lot in my life, so I studied how to kind of navigate through it. So as hard as it is when people are gaslighting me and just trying to make it seem like what's happening is not happening, I think you have to go back to your truth and know exactly how you feel. And also, my fellow vaxxed, injured friends, their experiences are very real. And I've seen it firsthand as to other people have not seen that. They don't have friends that have myocarditis from this. They don't have friends that have, similar symptoms like I do. Because when I went to the hospital, when the neuropathy came, it spread through my whole body. I remember staring at the ceiling and thinking, oh my God, this is it, I'm dying, this is it. I mean, I have everything I've ever wanted in my entire life. And it's almost over, like I didn't know. So I went to the hospital, for the second time, and that was in May, it was May 3rd. And I talk about being gaslit. That was probably one of the worst experiences of my life, and unless my arm is falling off, I won't step foot in another hospital again. It was, they didn't want to believe it, even though I had been diagnosed from the neurologist from that hospital. And somehow through my therapies and all of that, I had developed a lesion on my spine, on my C5, C6. So, they were like, okay, so this is what we think. You have symptoms of MS, but you don't have MS. So that's good, right? And I was like, I don't know if that's good. At least you can treat MS. What do you do with me here, Well, in 3 months you'll be fine, and this is just gonna leave your body, and just don't get the booster, you'll be okay. Yeah, it's been 2 years, so it's not getting any better. If anything, it's getting progressively worse. And that's when I started really searching for answers and doing as much research as I possibly can, and opening my mind and broadening, making my mind more broad in the sense of learning about everything and listening to everything everyone has to say. I want to hear it all. I want to hear the scientists. I was really drawn to Dr. Robert Malone. I believe he's a hero. I'm so grateful for that man. When he speaks, it's just, so I just did a lot of research, and then I came across React 19, and I saw Brianne Dressen speak on Congress, and she was talking about her experience. And it was so similar to mine, but what scared me the most was that she was in a wheelchair. And as a dancer and as a new mom, that's terrifying. And I'm a fighter, I'm not gonna get it to there, hopefully not. But yeah, so she gave me a lot of strength without even knowing it. And that's when I reached out to React 19 on Instagram, and I said, thank you so much for the work you're doing. I'm actually vax injured. I'm terrified to speak out, but God bless you, and God bless, you guys being on the front line. And I know that they're getting so much hate and all of these things, but thank you, because it means so much. You're saving me. You're saving me, because I feel like I'm going crazy.
In those early days, and even now, frankly, there was a lot of pressure to get vaccinated. There was all these influencers saying this is what you need to do. You had doctors saying things like what you just described, without really understanding, the cost-benefit analysis, right? Which I think every doctor should. And you mentioned you wanted to do the right thing. There was this sort of sense that this is the right thing to do for the community.
Right.
But did you ever feel pressure?
Oh yes, I felt a ton of pressure, from the media. people in the industry speaking out and kind of bullying people and saying, you're a bad person if you don't get this vaccine. Like, ugh, I don't want to talk to you. Don't listen to my music. Looking back, I think it was so incredibly irresponsible for them to do that. Especially some of them that I know personally that know about my condition. I think they just didn't want to believe me. But me staying silent, I believe is irresponsible of me to do. So that's why I was like, okay, eventually when I feel better, I'm going to speak out. And when I saw your interview with Bree, and I really am a fan of your show, I was like, yeah, I want to do it with Jan. I think Jan's the best to do this. So thank you for having me. Because I don't want to talk to anyone else.
I'm glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, what does it mean for you in your career to go public like this, like you are today?
It's probably one of the worst things I could ever do. I mean, it's very frowned upon still in the industry. I think people, you know, get treated so poorly for speaking their truth, you know. But here's the thing, I'm not angry. I'm definitely like sad when I think about it, and but I'm not angry. I'm not pointing any fingers. What's done is done. It is what it is. I live in a solution-based life now, you know. I have a son. I want to have another baby eventually if I can. I think it's just time to heal the community. So I'm okay with the repercussions that come along with it because I'm coming from my heart. I'm not angry. Not anymore, at least.
You know, I remember when we were talking offline that you mentioned to me that early on you had while you were pregnant, you even had a doctor recommend that you take the vaccine during pregnancy, but something told you not to do that. But tell me about this.
Yeah, so it was about, gosh, it was like 32 weeks pregnant. And she had mentioned that she was giving her patients the COVID vaccine and that it was fine and the babies are healthy and they're actually immune to COVID when they come to the world. And it's actually a very good thing. But, you know, next time you come, let's do it. And, you know, I loved my doctor, of course. I was like, okay, well, you know, let me think about it. So I got home and I told my husband, and my husband's like, no. You didn't want to do it before, because I didn't. I truly was apprehensive because I was already scared in pregnancy. It was a stressful time for me because I just wanted to protect my baby so much. And I was pregnant during a pandemic. So, I mean, I was so paranoid and just kind of stayed in my bubble and just stayed away from people as much as I could, you know. And I was like, okay, yeah, you know what, you're right, you know, because I was kind of easily influenced back then because I just wanted to do the right thing. But looking back, I don't talk to her anymore. And I have a lot of resentment towards that situation because I truly could have lost my son with the reaction that I had. And that is absolutely a devastating thought for me.
You know, censorship is really strong, right? This is what the Twitter files revealed, right? But the other thing that they revealed is how you can kind of craft the illusion of consensus, right? When social media, government, all these different entities, ostensibly independent, actually are all united around the same talking points.
You know, the little box on Instagram that says, you know, for the facts of COVID, you know, go here. That really started hurting me because I would kind of start trying to speak out, and I would post funny things from like Russell Brand because I think he's really funny with this whole thing. I'd get the box, you know, for the real truth, go here. And then I'd post it again. I said, you know, it just kept on going, and it was just, the censorship was just unbelievable. But, you know, they've had a funny way of just kind of making it one narrative. And everyone just following through. So I think that is why it's so hard for people to wrap their head around, because social media is a big muscle. It's a big way of like mind control. And thank God for Elon Musk. You know, thank God for him, you know, unveiling all of the things that were hidden, all the censorships and all the things that I needed to read. I needed to see these protocols that these doctors were giving to people that had adverse reactions with MS symptoms. You know, there was all these protocols and things I just didn't have access to. So it just became a very isolating world where I was like, okay, I guess I'm just dying. This is in my head, and I just gotta suck it up and take gabapentin, because that's, you know, what they give you. You know, that was the thing when I went to the hospital. They gave me so much medicine, and I'm in recovery, so it's a hard thing, you know, and a lot of the medications that they gave me that didn't help were the most mind-altering drugs that I think need to have black box labels on. And I also think that the Moderna vaccine should also have a black box.
Are you able to dance now even?
You know, my friend actually introduced me to this documentary called Get to the Root. Okay, it's about root canals and how infections could cause like autoimmune problems and all of these things, and because there'll be like infections underneath the old root canal dentist, like the posts and the tooth and whatnot, that like regular x-ray couldn't pick up. You'd have to get a CAT scan. So I got myself to the best biodentist, and I had a tooth removed, and about 6 days later after having it removed, I felt like completely normal. And I had all my energy back, I could put thoughts together. It was incredible, and that's when I started dancing ballet again. And it was a good 2 months where I had an amazing time. I had my ballet teacher come to the house, and I was strength training that way. And it was such a spiritual experience for me, especially as an adult doing ballet. Because when I was younger, I was like, ugh. As an adult, it was just so wonderful, and it just felt like I was connecting to, you know, my archangels, and I would, you know. And then, unfortunately, the neuropathy, the burning through my ribcage came back, worse than ever. And yeah, I had to stop doing ballet.
What does your root canal abscess have to do with your vaccine injury? I'm not super clear on this.
So from my experience, it just feels like my body's in full attack mode. Like my immune system just fights everything. So, you know, when I stumbled across that documentary, Get to the Root, in that documentary they talk about that some infections could be hidden in like old work, like a root canal or fillings or whatnot, that are not picked up by just a 2D x-ray. They need a CAT scan, and that that my body could be trying to fight what's going on in my teeth but can't get to it. So leaving my body in an autoimmune response. So I was willing to try anything. I was like, just take them all out, you know? And it worked. It actually worked for about 2 months, but, and then it came back. Unfortunately, I guess that wasn't the root. I'm glad I have the infections out, and I'm glad I was introduced to biodentistry, and maybe it will alleviate some problems for other people. It did for me, but unfortunately, other things cause the neuropathy.
Do you know anyone else in the industry that is experiencing the same things you are, or
yes.
similar things?
I know a lot of people.
You know a lot of people?
A lot of people. Actually, Bethany Frankel, I don't know her personally, but she just was on page 6 talking about that she has an autoimmune response, and she's very angry. So I hope I can reach out to her and, you know, bring her to React 19 so she can get the help she needs. But, you know, it's very scary, because that was one of the reasons I wanted to speak out, because a lot of these people are a lot bigger than me, or, you know, I don't even consider myself a celebrity, but it's like, I was kind of angered by the fact that they're not speaking out. I'm like, why aren't they speaking out? You know, they want to work, they have endorsement deals, they have, you know. I'm like, well, I don't have an endorsement deal, so I guess I should just go and speak, you know, because it's time to heal. That's it.
What kind of numbers are we talking about here that you're aware of?
I mean, I know about 10 people, which is a lot, but like personally. But in the industry, I think they're just kind of categorized in some weird neurological disorder.
It just happens to be happening at much higher frequency than ever before, or?
I think that finally people are coming out of the gaslight, right? And they're seeing truth and thinking for themselves and realizing that, oh my God, this is a possibility. And yeah, a lot of people in the industry, and obviously I gave them my word, I would never say anything, but I hope that this interview will inspire them to come out, because it could really change lives and even save lives. I know it's scary, but it's a lot more than people think, because a lot of people don't talk about it at all. It's kind of that taboo thing to even speak upon, you know, especially in Hollywood. And a lot of people in the industry who don't believe me, they kind of mess with me in a sense. Well, I just got my booster. I just this, and I'm fine, you know? Which I think is so dangerous, because a lot of my very, very close friends' aunts, father, they just recently died. It's kind of, it makes me so sick and sad. And I know that everyone's body is their body, and everyone has the choice, but I would recommend maybe halting the vax just to kind of reconfigure, because I mean, one death is enough. One child on the football field is enough. You know, I just read that FDA pulled an eye drop because it killed one person, just one person. It was pulled off, you know, and why is it different with this? Why is it so different with this? And all these young, beautiful, beautiful kids and athletes and superb health. Well, why isn't it completely pulled off the shelf immediately? It's so confusing to me, and I just think that maybe they need to tell us the truth of what this really is. I've had to stop a lot of mainstream media, especially like KTLA. There was the issue about the military, and that they want to stop the mandated vaccines for our military, and I was like, oh, thank God. And then the reporter then says, can you believe they think it's still not safe or effective? Like, as I'm feeling the, you know, small fiber neuropathy throughout my whole body, and I just looked at my husband and I was like, shut it off. I can't watch the show anymore, like, because that hit me really hard, because I'm a big supporter of the troops. I've performed in Afghanistan, in Jordan, at the bases there. They have my heart. So if anyone, any of our soldiers that would go through this, that are protecting our country, I think it's vital that they do not get the vax. I think it is so imperative that we protect our military that are protecting our country, you know, keeping the freedom alive.
So what has been the impact of this injury on your family's life?
Thank you for asking that. You know, it's been really hard for my husband, because he doesn't want to see me suffer, and he's watched this whole journey. He's been my champion. He's the one that kind of like steered me into knowing exactly what it is. And it's a lot. And it's a lot for the families that have to deal with having family members that are suffering like this. But I want to speak out on that and say how important and vital they are, and how grateful I am to my husband, because it is not easy. And you know, he told me the other day, you know, because he's been staying strong. I'm like, how you doing? How you doing? And finally, he, you know, in tears the other day, he's like, you know, I want to take this away from you, babe. I just like don't want to see you suffering. I said, honey, I'm just glad it was me and not you or our son. I was like, I don't want to inflict this on anyone that I love. I'm glad that it's me, not you. And I know that's hard for him, but I know I'm going to get through this. And to my fellow injured, I will say this with confidence: we will heal. I pray for us every single day. We will heal.
There's two things that come to my mind when I hear you speaking. On the one hand, you know, I think there might be people who have been injured that are watching this, and I think that they may get some inspiration, right? There's also kind of inner strength that you need to find to deal with being, as you call it, gaslit. So I guess what I want to ask you is, what would you say to people that are in this sort of situation?
I just want to say, first of all, your voice matters. You know, you're worthy of your feelings. I think it's an opportunity to really meet who you truly are inside. You know, I know there's a lot of people that have taken their life over this. And I understand that. That's not an option for me. I'm a mom, so, you know, I think I was just always in fear of that this was just going to kill me, you know. Things have gotten better, but I'll have a week that's good or whatever. Right now I'm in pretty bad pain. But what I would say to them is, you know, stay strong. I would say go to React 19, join the community. There's all these beautiful protocols that they're finding, all these new tests, all these things that will help us heal. And you will be heard and you will be seen and you will be loved and accepted. They've just been so phenomenal. All the vaccinated doctors that are working with React 19 have taken me under their wing and are helping me get into the neurologist, because it's very difficult. Doctors are very, very busy right now. So, I mean, appointments take about 6 months to get into. But, you know, they're getting me into doctors that are not even seeing new clients, and they're getting me in to get me, well, they actually care. They hear me. Bree Dressen, she's my hero. She has been truly a beacon of light for me and for so many other people that I know. And I'm just so grateful for warriors like her who kind of paved the way for us to make us feel seen and heard and loved. She takes time out of the day when I'm just not feeling good, and she explains to me what's going on, because no doctors really explain to me anything. The whole community has been a godsend, because we can speak to each other with such a knowingness, and there's no biased confusion or any of that. It's like my voice matters, and it hasn't mattered for so long, and it's been stifled for so long, and I've had so much shame with this, like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? But maybe it happened to me for a reason, and if I can just give any inspiration and hope to your viewers, that would mean the world to me.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, Jessica Sutta, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you so much. And I just want to commend you for Epoch and your show, for true journalism. We need this in our world so badly. And I'm so grateful for all of you. And this is coming from all the truth seekers in the world. We love you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you all for joining Jessica Sutta and me on this episode of American Thought Leaders. I'm your host, Jan Jekielek. Moderna did not immediately respond to our request for comment.
22 million tweets were categorized as misinformation for purposes of takedowns or throttling through EIP, the Election Integrity Partnership.
Mike Benz has been tracking the rise of the West's censorship industry for years as executive director of the Foundation for Freedom Online and a former State Department official. The Twitter files were just the tip of the iceberg, he says.
To monitor social media discourse about COVID, Graphica was immediately working with NATO's essentially psychological warfare branch in January 2020.
In this comprehensive two-part interview, he breaks down the major players in today's censorship regime and how tactics once used abroad were deployed to target Americans.
It is a career path. It is a path to power. People who are in government roles in misinformation, disinformation at DHS will get their next jobs at the German Marshall Fund or at the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensics Research Lab.
This is American Thought Leaders, and I'm Jan Jekielek.